Mark Skaar on 103.7 The Fox. It's the Skaar Kaard as I welcome in Johnny Jetson. Johnny, hello, welcome.
Hey, what's happening, Mark? Thanks for having me on the Fox.
Yeah, this is a nice surprise when I run into something. I saw it a couple times on Facebook, your name, your new record, Make Your Move. I listened to it, and I said, I got to buy that, so I bought it. Make Your Move is in my library, and congratulations. It's a fun and good rock and roll record.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, hopefully it's like that unexpected birthday cake that your friends chipped in for, and you know, you're surprised enough you're getting a birthday cake from guys that never remember your birthday, and suddenly this incredibly beautiful girl comes jumping out of it, and you're like, wow, you guys, you really overdid it, and I love you for it. So hopefully that's what this record has, a little bit of that unexpected excitement.
Yeah, so let's, for the uninitiated that don't know the backstory in a nutshell of Johnny Jetson, let's start there. Let's go back to the beginning and the bands you've been in, because looking on Bandcamp, you got a lot of stuff there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in New York, and I played in punk rock and glam rock bands in the 80s, and then I migrated out to California, and my kind of claim to fame was playing in a band called Space Age Playboys, and that was with noted frontman Corey Clark, whose claim to fame was his band Warrior Soul. That band was pretty cool, and, you know, back in 98, 99, we were the big thing, a little bit like the Sex Pistols. We had one record and one incredible tour of Europe that ended in self-destruction for several of the members in the band. And from the wreckage of Space Age Playboys, I put together Tattooed Millionaires, which was a cool band that lasted, you know, quite a while. It was a big thing in the early days of MySpace, for anyone old enough to remember MySpace. And we did quite well in the Wild West days of independent music, and sold a lot of records on our own. And it was pretty cool because at that time I was kind of fed up with the music industry and, you know, all the empty promises and bad record deals, and just wanted to go out on my own and see how far we could take it. And we took it pretty far. We got to Europe a few times. We bought an old tour bus, Silver Eagle tour bus that once belonged to Leonard Skinner, and rolled that around America for a few years and got to about 30 states. And that was, you know, that was pretty cool. Tattooed Millionaires, a fun band. I got to write all the music and play with some great musicians over the years. And then I migrated from Los Angeles out to Minnesota, where I'm currently living in Minneapolis and loving the scene here. Tattooed Millionaires kind of ran its course, and now I'm just putting out records on my own, Johnny Jetson.
Yes, sir, Johnny Jetson here, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Make Your Move. Track I've already played is the first one, Knocked Out. Tell me about that one.
Well, Knocked Out, just your basic rocker. Like I said, I grew up in New York. I'm from the school of Johnny Thunder's guitar playing. I grew up on the Ramones and Kiss and Twisted Sister and all that fun stuff. So, you know, I've kind of got back to just writing simple songs, simple fun songs. Knocked Out, it's got the, you know, it's a love story with the analogy of being in the boxing ring. I know a lot of people have been, you know, punched around by bad relationships. So that's a little bit what it's like, you know. It's kind of like that merry-go-round that you sometimes find yourself on when you can't find the right person to settle down with, and you feel like your life is knocking you around, and your relationships and boyfriends or girlfriends are knocking you out. So that's Knocked Out, you know. It's a love story with a hard right uppercut.
I think maybe, Johnny, my favorite song on the record is Hottest Night in Hell.
Hottest Night in Hell, and you know what? That was the last record to make it, last song to make it to the record, excuse me. And, you know, I'm working on this record with Adam Hamilton. Adam Hamilton, very talented drummer and producer out in L.A., who did the last L.A. Guns record, The Devil You Know. Okay. And he's done a lot of great stuff. Look him up. Adam Hamilton just did the Missing Persons record. And so he's playing drums on it, and we had a crop of songs that we were going through, and we picked out, you know, 8 or 9 of them, and then we had about 10, but I don't know, I had like, we need a little more edge on it. And that song just kind of came out of nowhere, literally written in 5 or 10 minutes. Hottest Night in Hell. I'm glad you picked up on that because I love that song too.
And let's talk about one more, Miss Devious.
Miss Devious, yeah, that's getting to be a crowd favorite. I've heard from a few people that have picked up the record that Miss Devious is their favorite song. Miss Devious, to me, is that chick who races cars, you know, the tomboy, daddy's little girl who he taught how to turn wrenches and got into speed, got into cars. You know, I like those girls that kind of break the rules and, you know, don't conform to the Barbie doll look, you know. Dirty, greasy hair and a girl is fine with me if she's been working on her car all day, you know. That's cool. So Miss Devious is an ode and my homage to girls who don't take no for an answer and break the mold and just go for it.
Talking with Johnny Jetson about Make Your Move, and maybe we could take some time and talk about the girl on the cover of the record.
The girl on the cover of the record. Now, there's a story. Okay, if you haven't seen the record cover, go check it out. It's a girl profile in a cowboy hat holding a 6-shooter with some smoke coming out of the barrel. Now, that photo is from a photograph that I found at a garage sale about 8 years ago. And it was in a plain wooden frame. It kind of looks like something you would win at the carnival, you know, like those old Motley Crue and Led Zeppelin mirrors. Well, it's got that vibe to it. And I had to have it. And the woman was asking $25 for it. $25 for a picture at a garage sale? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, would you take 20? She's like, no. And now that you said that, I don't know if I want to even sell it. I'm like, whoa, hold on. I really fell in love with this picture. Okay, 25, you got it. So for the last 8 years, I've been trying to find out information on this photo. Couldn't find anything. I've done the Google reverse search. It doesn't exist in the public domain. Never found any information on this photo. Well, just recently, when the song started charting on indie radio stations, I came to the attention of a DJ out of Chicago, a friend of mine now. His name's Boris. And he sent me, I asked him if they wanted to hear the, you know, were interested in hearing the new songs to play on their radio show. And he messaged me back and said, yeah, send them to me. And by the way, I know that girl in the photo on your record cover.
Wow.
I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So I sent him my number. I said, you got to call me right now. I mean, like, right now. You have to call me. I've been trying for 8 years to find out who this was. In fact, I was reluctant to put it on record covers before because I didn't know who it was. And I didn't want to alarm or upset the wrong people using a photo. But I had spent so many years trying to find out anything on this thing that I figured, you know what? I'm putting it on the record cover, and if it turns up who it is, then we'll work the deal out later, and at least I'll know, right?
Right.
So Boris calls me up. I'm like, Boris, who is it? He's like, Johnny, that's my best friend Tina Hedren. I'm like, Tina Hedren? Whoa, who's that? Oh, she's my best friend for 30 years. I'm like, well, where is she? You know, I want to use the photo on the record. He's like, oh, unfortunately, she passed away in 2011. I'm like, oh, my God. Really? I mean, this is an actual person that lived and passed away in 2011, about the year I found the photo. So it turns out, so he said, she's got a daughter. Let me reach out to her daughter. That's the only next of kin, and see what she says. So he reaches out to her daughter. Her name is Amanda. And Amanda got back to me saying, we would love to have you use the photo for the record cover. So that's huge right there, right?
Right, exactly.
I find out who it is. I get the blessing of the family. $1 off the sale of each record is going to go to her favorite charity, the PetSmart Pet Charity, which is something great in her name. And she was a big rock and roll fan, and after listening to the music, her daughter Amanda thought she would really be excited about it. She thought the music was right up her alley. Well, it turns out Tina isn't just anyone who models for a photo, but Tina goes back to the L.A. days of glam days and was a regular of Rodney Bingenheimer's club, the English Disco, in the early 70s, and hung out at the Rainbow and the Roxy and that time period where glam was huge and rock was huge. She was a friend of Alice Cooper, dated him for a little bit, dated Rod Stewart, was a lifelong friend of Eric Clapton, was a friend of John Candy, and has some cameo roles in his movies. And so this whole thing came around, and the legend of Tina now, her friends and family believe that she's been, looking down and orchestrating this whole thing. Not only is she a beautiful person, but the history, her rock and roll history, really ties in with this record. And so it was pretty exciting. So there's the long and short of the photo, but check it out. Tina Hedgren is the model on the photo, and that's how she became on the cover of this record. A really amazing person. Not too much history on her on the internet, but amazing nonetheless. I've seen... Oh, I got to add this. Mm-hmm. She's in my most favorite issue of Cream magazine. Now, those that are old enough remember Cream. It was the holy Bible of rock and roll magazines in the 70s. Boy Howdy and the Stars Cars, and it had the humor and the satire, and the greatest rock and roll writers ever wrote for the Cream magazine. I'm sure you remember it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I have a few that I've collected over the years. And my favorite issue of Cream magazine is the one with Alice Cooper on the cover. It's like August 1974. It's got Alice Cooper on the cover in front of the Hollywood sign up in the hills with a Rolls Royce and two of these hot chicks done up like 30s movie star style. And he's got a drink in his hand, and it's Alice Cooper in his prime, right, 74. That issue is one of the best Cream magazines ever. Look it up. She's in it. Towards the back of the and it's a photo of her like the English Disco with a couple of groupies, and they're pulling her shirt to the side and exposing some boob. And as a kid, it was like, oh my God, it was everything that you wanted to, the whole rock and roll fantasy that you wanted to live as a kid was summed up in these few pages. It's got the New York Dolls in there on their first trip out to L.A., hanging with all those famous groupies, and here she is. And I've been in love with the photo of her my whole life, and it turns out that's Tina. So, yeah.
That's the planets aligning. It's all meant to be.
I think so. So unfortunate that the backdrop of it has to be a total collapse of America right now with this damn virus, but at the same time there's glimmers of hope in the darkness, and rock and roll has got us through a lot of hard times, and it's going to get us through these hard times. So it's easy to be cynical and hate life when things get hard, but we all know that when you can dig deep, pull that record out of the sleeve, put the needle on the groove, or however you do it, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel better when you put on that rock and roll record and you listen to that side, and it fills you with hope, and it brings back those great memories and gives you the strength to fight on. So everyone out there listening, I want you to do that. You don't have to listen to Johnny Jetson. Just listen to your favorite rock and roll record and know that we're going to get through this. And then you can put on the Johnny Jetson record.
Couple things before we go. You are re-recording your first solo record, right?
That's right. I did a first solo record about 5 years ago. It's called The Father, the Son, and the Ghost of Rock and Roll. And I wrote this record at the depths of my despair, going through a divorce. And I'm sure I'm not the only guy out there in the world who's been through a shitty divorce and had a fight to see their kid, a working man. Working man's blues, man, Mm-hmm. And I thought I'd been through some hard times in life, but there ain't nothing worse than not seeing your kid and having your marriage that, you thought was going to last go down the tubes. So I wrote this record during that time. It's not as upbeat or hard rocking as the new record, but there's some really strong songs on there. And at the time, I was pretty isolated, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to play the drums on this record. I'm not a great drummer. I'm okay. You know, I'm a great drummer at a drunken keg party when everyone's getting up and jamming cover songs. I can squeak by, but no drummer for a record. But I did it. And now I'm redoing it again with a great drummer named Johnny Strutt, who is in Tattooed Millionaires with me, and he plays in some great bands up here in the Minneapolis, Johnny Strutt area. He's redoing the drums. The songs are sounding great. I've redone a couple little guitar tracks, but for the most part, the vocals and the songs and the guitars are sounding good. I'm just kind of going back and retweaking the mixes with some fresh ears, and Johnny's drumming is making it a whole new record. So I'm excited about that. That'll be out, The Father, the Son, the Ghost of Rock and Roll. You can hear a few songs already that have been redone on the Bandcamp page. It's Minneapolis Records is my record label. Minneapolis Records. You type that in, you'll come up with the Bandcamp page, and you can hear all that stuff. The rest of the music, Tattooed Millionaires, Space Age Playboys is up there. It's also Apple Music, you know, and all those streaming platforms, Amazon Music. Just type in Johnny Jetson and you'll come up with all that stuff. But yeah, something exciting. There's this new record that's out that's doing really well, and then there's the old solo record, which to a lot of people, I mean, it came and went. Yeah, it came and went. My life was in turmoil at the time, and I wasn't really focused on it. And the record came out, and I cried the blues, and I moved on. But it's going to have, you know, some new life, and some of the songs I think people can really dig. So there you go.
Johnny, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to hopefully seeing you sooner rather than later, and all the best going forward with all this virus chaos.
Thank you so much, Mark, and the people listening to The Fox. I love you. You're hardworking people. Take care of each other, and we'll see you on the other side of this, right?
Exactly. Johnny Jetson, thank you, sir.
Find me on Facebook. I'll be your new best friend. Take care, everyone, and rock on.
Johnny Jetson on the Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox.